Welcome to another weekly episode of Marked Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And the big news for this week is Scarlett Johansson. So we had talked about Scarlett previously, and we had kind of wrestled with whether or not to go to that appearance. And I know you were following the reports from that whatever it was, a charity photo op thing. You were anxiously trying to see if the critics were going to be validated, and what happened?
The photos. Well, I mean, to start, I don't think the photos are terrible. I think it's basically what you would have expected. I think it's actually better than it could have been because Scarlett was a part of the photo. You know, she was a part of the ensemble. But I mean, it kind of looks like some weird, wacky, like class photo, which I guess in and of itself is kind of cool. But yeah, what do you think?
Oh, it's horrific.
I was trying to be nice.
I wouldn't take it for free. They're embarrassing to look at. The whole thing is bizarre. It's bizarre. There's no other word for it.
Wait, hold on. You wouldn't take it for free?
No. If I had to go into the city, no.
Okay.
If I can drive 15 minutes, I guess, but no. It doesn't even look like it's a bizarre looking photo op. Honestly, bizarre.
It looks like I guess that's the way it would have to be, but the photographer's like on the floor, like looking up. And honestly, in some of the photos, the fan looks like they're barely looking in. Like, so I can understand why the talent isn't, but it's honestly, I don't think there's a single natural photo out there where everyone's looking. They're just, which I mean, even at conventions when you have 10, 12 people reunions, you'll have like a person or two that's blinking or looking or doing something that's not right. But yeah, I mean, I when I saw the photo, I like last week we talked about like feeling regret about not being a C2E2. I felt nothing as far as FOMO or this envy or anything like that. Like I saw that photo and I sort of felt vindicated in not going.
I just it's such a funny thing. I looked at these photo ops. They just look so strange. It looks so strange. Most of these people they're not recognizable faces. You have no idea who they are. Everyone's like sitting. You got to look at these pictures. Honestly, you got to go search for them and find them. Yeah, they're on our Facebook group. People have posted them, but like they're all kind of sitting on a stage. There's probably 30 people on stage, right? Something like that.
Yeah,
and they're all they're all kind of dressed up. So it's very unnatural. It's very weird. I just don't even get it. I don't get why anyone would think this is a product that someone would want, because it does not look cool. It does, like, okay, if there was like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an ensemble cast movie or TV. Like, okay, I did a group photo op with the cast of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and that was like 9 cast members, something like that. So, which is a lot. But like, those are all recognizable faces from the show. These are strangers to have these people. They're like production people, right? The whole thing is whacked. And like the lengths to which people will go just to get to be in the same frame as Scarlett Johansson is pretty funny.
But that's the thing. You have people that will do all these lengths to be in the frame with Scarlett Johansson, who will then in the next breath not necessarily be happy with it, because there's that weird like outlook where if you're not directly standing next to the person, it's not a valid photo op. So you have a lot of people that got this photo and knew what it was probably going to be. I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't know what it was going to be, and are then miserable with it because it's not what they wanted it to be.
So what's so funny, and this is an area that like is kind of unique to our slice of the internet, right? Is that we have debates, and there were these debates on markedout.com years ago. What constitutes a valid photo op, right? You know, what basically, for those people who are not insane, what this means is like what's a photo op that counts? Now, of course, one asks the question, counts towards what? And that is never clear. That is never an answer that is clear. But the idea is that does it count in our hobby as having a photo op? You know, does it give you the right to make the claim amongst our unique subset of humanity that you have a photo with that person? Right.
Yeah. See, so yeah, that's what it comes down to. You want the envy of the person that basically uses deodorant bi-weekly. Like that's basically what it comes down to.
So yeah, I mean, so there's always this like thing: is this a valid photo op? And and we had really had these tortured arguments about what constitutes a valid photo op. If the person doesn't realize they're taking a photo op, does it count as valid? If the person is looking away or is looking down or has their eyes closed, there are celebrities who infamously would close their eyes on purpose to mess up photo ops. Or do some other thing. Does that affect the so-called validity of the photo op? And so you're looking at a thing like this, and let's be clear. Under the old rules of Marked Out, if you posted a photo op like this to Marked Out and made the claim that you had a photo with Scarlett Johansson, I think people would have a hard time with that, no?
Yes, there would definitely be people that would have that problem. Like Class 316 and I have been having arguments in messages and like the group chats about this, where he still says it doesn't count. And I mean, I have group photos with people. Like, I don't need individual photos with everyone in that group photo. I have my group photo with the Breakfast Club, not counting Emilio. I don't even know if like my body directly like lines up with every single one of their bodies. Probably not. And that's okay. Like, do you have solo shots with everyone from that Star Trek assortment that you were with?
No, but I think part of the problem is there's something uniquely odd about this photo.
Oh,
right?
I wouldn't want this photo. I think it's honestly pretty lousy. I think it's fine on a validity level by my standards, but I mean, I wouldn't want it. But like, I don't subscribe to that belief that if you're not directly next to that person that you don't have a photo. You may not have the ideal photo, you may not have the perfect photo or the photo you want, but you have a photo.
And it's true. And to be honest, for someone who's not part of the hobby, a normal person would see that and go, "Oh, cool! You're in a picture with Scarlett Johansson," and not really like care. A normal person would think it was cool. It's the people in the hobby who look at this with disgust and horror.
And like the things people have, the things people were doing to try to fix this. There's one guy, which I'll be honest, I guess I kind of respect the chutzpah. He, like you see, everyone was sort of lined up where they were lined up. They were like sort of by Richard Kind. And this one guy, like, sort of flung himself like in front of Keegan-Michael Key, which I mean, he's probably giving Keegan-Michael Key, he was like grinding on him, I would imagine at that point to be like, it was tight. So I don't know how he managed to do that. And he like wedged himself right behind Scarlett. So I mean, by the lunatics and the hobbies standards, he's got a valid photo. He's right behind Scarlett.
I believe that was photoshopped.
No. This one I think was real. The one that you're talking about was Cameron. Cameron's was photoshopped. I'm talking about Dave, the one that dates Vanessa, the Jersey Shore stalker. His I think was legit because like
so he ran up there and just tried wedged himself in the wrong spot.
Yeah, because Keegan looks sort of like a little like surprised it's happening. He's he's a cool guy, so he's not gonna do anything. But judging by the faces on the other people in the photo, I'm fairly certain that Dave's is legit.
Was Scarlett completely oblivious?
It seemed like it. I was gonna make a nasty joke, but I like Dave. He's nice. I wouldn't even make a joke. But yeah, she didn't seem to even be aware of all the maneuvering that was going on behind her. But I'm glad you brought up Cameron. That was a whole thing that was, from what I believe, he was in the building, but he simply photoshopped himself from the location he was in to a location closer to Scarlett. And then that starts opening up the can of worms of basically if you're going to fix a photo in Photoshop, I think a lot of us do. If we have a pimple, if we have hairs that are all messed up, maybe you fix a little bit of something, you whiten your teeth. What is too much when it comes to fixing in Photoshop? Where do you start losing any sort of ethical high ground of like, I don't want to say validity because it's sort of, again, a demented term. But I mean, at what point are you just creating something that didn't happen?
I don't think there's any ethical issues here because the whole thing is stupid. So like, there's no ethics to there's no ethics to it because there's no I mean, we're getting really off the rails here, but there's like no ethical framework almost. There is no right and wrong here because you're just collecting something that has no ethical value to it. There's just, I mean, you're not stealing anything, you're not lying, you're not violating any like normal ethical principles of society. You're sort of violating the norms of a particular hobby. But I mean, there are people who say you violate the norms of the hobby by getting something signed in the wrong color pen. So there are all kinds of norms in the hobby that are just bizarre. So I don't know. I mean, if you are happy, I mean, there was a funny thing years ago where someone was photoshopping themselves into photo ops that they didn't take, right? And I mean, we made fun of them, but it's like, I don't know if unethical is the right word to describe it, because who cares? It's just an
honestly,
idiot stupid
I
things.
think, I guess me even using that word is proof that I've been having too many debates with class about validity. Look, here's a better way of slicing it. Would you want a photo that you had to like really move your location? Would you feel the same way about it as you would a natural photo that was untouched?
So okay, I'll bring up. So I split with when Rhea Ripley was at Big Event, right?
Yes.
I split a photo op with Rhea Ripley with my friend Kevin.
You should split it with Hack.
I shoulda, but I didn't. I was taking the pictures for Hack, to be fair. So I was splitting with my friend Kevin, and then I said to you, when I wanted to post it on social media, can you just Photoshop him out? And you did. So what the thing that people see of my picture of Rhea Ripley is not really what took place here. It's a fiction, but I really don't care. You know what I mean? It doesn't bother me in any way. I never really had any thoughts about it beyond it just never occurred to me. So I don't know. I don't know how I would feel. I mean, the issue is I would never want this photo in the first place.
Yeah.
So shifting me around. I mean, imagine like you Photoshop different versions where you're behind all these different people. Like, so you Photoshop one next to behind Richard Kind, then that's your op with Richard Kind. Then you Photoshop yourself behind like Keegan Michael Key. That's your Photoshop with him. Then your photo op with Scarlett, and you just do all. Maybe you just. What you do is you just replace every other person in the photo with yourself, except the person you want the op with. I mean, like, it's all just for social media silliness anyway. You know what I mean? So I just don't see why people get bent. I guess if you're posting it, I guess the issue is if you're posting it for clout, right?
Which everyone is.
Well, then it has to be deserving of clout. And being like 7 people over from Scarlett Johansson is not that cool. And so it's not generating a ton of clout. But if you're with Scarlett Johansson, because everyone knows what a completely heinous human being she is, then that is, I guess, rarer and then cooler and then worthy of clout, if that makes sense. I think I said it right. So
yeah.
So I guess the issue is photoshopping to gain more clout than someone else sucks. But I mean, it's demented to begin with. So I don't really know how to answer it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You have people that feel as though doing anything is sort of breaching the code of how the hobby should work. Then there's people that maybe wouldn't move themselves like Cameron did, but they will open a blinked eye, or they will, like, let's say, like when you split a photo with someone, that you sort of will add like a new arm to not make it look cropped. That's something I do quite often. Like you said, there's really no code of ethics where you're forced to adhere to this. Society doesn't really acknowledge any of this stuff, except for the lunatics like us that sort of are sitting here right now on a podcast discussing it. But it just makes me laugh that you have people, because people are angry. People are very angry about these photo ops. And I don't understand. Like, I think by that, week of this event, it was clear what it was going to be. They gave the full list of who it was going to be in the photo. Like, unless you thought that you were going to, like, hold Scarlett Johansson, like as if she was, like, an infant in your arms. Like, you were always going to be at the mercy of where you were going to stand. You were probably not going to be, they were not going to coordinate it that you're standing next to one of the most heinous people out there as far as fan interaction. She was not going to say, hey, put the fan right next to me. That was never going to happen. So you bought this ticket. You didn't try to get a refund, because you were able to get a refund. People got refunds minus the Eventbrite face. You could have gotten out of this, and you didn't. and then you're angry and you're doing complaints, and people are even apparently getting chargebacks, which this is what I thought was one of the most fascinating parts of this entire thing. How are you going to call your credit card company and say I deserve a chargeback because what? I don't have a valid photo with Scarlett. Richard Kind is looking down. Like, how are you explaining this to a credit card company and getting them to actually hear you out?
Well, it's particularly nutty because the thing that was promised was a photo with the cast.
And you got it.
And to be honest, you got a photo with more of a cast than pretty much I've ever seen before in my life.
Yeah.
This is they delivered on this promise better than I've literally ever seen anyone ever deliver on this promise. No one gives you a photo with a cast this big. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so that part of it is just really funny. Like, this is the biggest cast photo I've ever seen. And so to make the claim that you didn't get what you paid for is you almost got too much of what you paid for.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nutty. But this hobby is nutty. The people in it are nutty. The impulse behind wanting it is nutty, and the impulse behind being upset with it is nutty. So I mean, I imagine some of these chargebacks will go through because some credit card companies will just do it. If you're a customer who is a high roller. Now, granted, many of our people are not, but that's how it goes. And I think some of them will get denied, and they're, I think some people, it's funny because you were right. I wasn't following this whole saga as closely as you were, but you're right in the sense that you had said once they post the cast list, it was very clear what you were getting. But look, people wanted to roll the dice. Well, what if I get to stand next to Scarlett Johansson, right? What if that was the allure of it? That was the hope and the dream that's what it would be. And of course, it didn't turn out that way because, I mean, there's no way she would agree to that because, again, she's a heinous human being, right? So that's what it is.
And that was my argument with Greg, because I mean, Greg 2600 was saying at the time that we started seeing these horrific photos coming out, and he said, "Don't you think the showrunner, deserves some blame?" And I said what you said, that they actually gave you like everything they promised. It's not what the lunatics in this hobby want. And I mean, I don't see anything on an ethical level that they did wrong. But it starts, it's one of those things where now all these people that are in these photos met Scarlett Johansson. I'm almost certain no one that met Scarlett Johansson in this medley of talent are actually satisfied with it, truthfully. And if Scarlett Johansson did a signing or a convention in 2 months for $400, they would all be ready to buy it. So it's like, what really happened here? Like, you did this to meet her and you met her, but you're not satisfied with it and you're still going to want to meet her. So you really didn't scratch any itch. You kind of just, I don't know what you did. But on the bright side, I've been fixing some photos for some people. And I think there's other people sending their photos my way. So if you have a Scarlett Johansson photo you're not satisfied with, for $20,
wait, so what have you been doing?
I've been combining elements from other photos to sort of make her look.
Oh, because when she was looking down or something?
Yeah, like if she's looking down in yours or she's looking up in your great aunt Gertrude's, I'll take the best of all the photos. And Class 316 would have an aneurysm about that. But listen, if you pay my rate, I'm your Huckleberry. I'll do it.
And your rate is $20 per photo?
$20 per photo, yes. Which honestly, I mean, if you're paying $250 for a photo and you're not satisfied with it, I honestly could have gone higher. But I try to be nice. I try to be nice to the people.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly, I'm going to be 100% clear. I think the price is a little low. I mean, yeah, I think the price is low. You can go higher.
All right. So the next giant cluster cast photo that comes out next year, I'll charge $40.
I mean, there are always these things. Like, there are always these like questionable things. What are you gonna get for the money? What is it really gonna be? And what's so funny is everyone tries to put their 2 cents in to predict in advance, but like some of these things work out better than you could possibly imagine. Other of these work out worse than you could possibly imagine. That's sort of the thrill in the game of it.
Yeah, that's the gamble. And listen, next year if they do this exact same event, And instead of Scarlett Johansson, it's Harrison Ford. It's Michael Keaton. It's Samuel L. Jackson. It's something like that I'm a much bigger fan of. I feel like my chances are very slim that I'll ever get it. I would take the Scarlett Johansson photo if Harrison Ford was Scarlett Johansson. Like, if that was my photo with Harrison Ford, I would take that over nothing. So I'll be up there if it's someone like that in the future. But Scarlett Johansson's just one of those people I don't care enough. If she's at a convention, I'm there, I'll get her. But to upgrade my not so great shot. But I'm not doing that. And I have no regret that I did.
Yeah, it's so funny because you were like really haranguing me whether or not we should do this thing, and I just totally shut it down. I'm not doing it. There's no chance.
Is there anyone you would do this for? Like, are you with me? Would you do it for Harrison?
No, I wouldn't do it for anyone. I think I would do it for a cast that I really liked, like a whole cast. It would have to be a whole cast, not some stupid indie movie I don't care about. I'm trying to like it had to be something big, you know.
I mean, if that was like the Soprano cast when they were all still alive, like that would have been like badass, like something like that.
Oh, right. I wouldn't have to be next to Gandolfini. I would be next to anybody. It wouldn't matter. I'd be next to Janice even. It wouldn't matter. It would be sick. Or even
and you would feel like you had a photo with Gandolfini even if you were 100%. 7 away, right?
Yes, yeah. Because it was a group that had purpose.
Exactly.
That's the best I can explain it. There's a group that had purpose. The group means something. I think the reason why people are upset about this is because the group doesn't mean anything. Now, if this movie ends up blowing up, what if this movie blows up and becomes like a cultural touchstone that we all tell people about 20 years from now? Then it's a different story, right?
Yeah. But honestly, I think you're giving people too much credit. I think you could have had a full cast of the Avengers, and if people were not directly next to Scarlett and they needed to have her, that was the one they didn't have, they'd be just as upset. I don't think it matters, because I think for these people, it's this weird this weird compulsion. And honestly, I would love to hear if I could get the credit card companies to like release the like recording of these phone calls of all these people explaining why they need their money back. Like it would make me a very happy man. But alas, I don't think that'll happen.
Oh, it's totally unrelated, but it just so happens I was talking to my friend at work about something or other. I can't remember what it was even about. I was talking to him about the fact that I'm going to the Used show on the 21st, and another guy walking by said that he went to the Mark Hoppus book thing, that book talk thing, right?
Yeah,
remember we talked about 2 weeks ago, and so like, I don't really know this guy that well, so I couldn't really like I didn't know exactly what to say, but I was like, oh, how'd it go? You know, he said, oh, it was great, it was amazing, it was so much fun, I had a blast. And it's just funny because someone who's not in the hobby perceives the hobby very differently from what we perceive, you know. So to him, this book talk with Mark Hoppus was the greatest thing. Just like I imagine there'll be people for whom this Jeremy Renner book talk is the greatest thing. So it was funny to me because he interrupted a conversation that I had to make a reference to something we had talked about on the podcast, and he really loved it. And so I think a lot of it's funny because we were talking about like, oh, maybe they won't be incentivized to do these things because no one wants to do them. I do think normal people want to do these, just not us.
Yeah. I think when you honestly remove all the like, even though I say, oh, I'm not a part of this, like still, you and I both, I think we have these different standards of like what's a cool photo, like what's a good photo. And honestly, if you break it down, just look at it, you're meeting, of those 20 people, 7 or 8 are like actual names from the
Right.
Richard Kind level to the Scarlett level. For $250, I mean, you do the math, it's a pretty damn good value. And for people that don't really do it that hot and heavy like us, I mean, you're in a photo with all these famous people. That's awesome. Who the hell does that? For us, it's like, oh, well, I have 700 other photos that are cooler than that one because it doesn't look that aesthetically pleasing. And for the average person, it doesn't matter.
And we are willing to do much nuttier things than the average person to get these photos. One day we have to do a show on the Arnold Columbus thing.
Yeah, my goal for that, I want to get Greg 2600 and Lance at 218, respecting both gimmicks. We got to get them both on and just run through it because that's That
Because
whole
like
thing is crazy.
their thing was like in parallel to ours, right? Because we
Yeah,
had
so you had we tried to like coordinate it that we were sort of on the same plane of existence, but it just didn't work out. And
no.
I won't say any more than that until we actually have the episode.
But the lengths that we went through to do that were extraordinary. And it comes as no surprise that we continue to do nutty things um, uh, in the hobby that normal people don't do. So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. All links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack. And if you want your event, product, or brand advertised on episodes of Marked Out Radio, reach out to us today at markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. Also, please subscribe to us. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast, and leave a rating or review on Apple Podcast. You can leave a rating on Spotify, or you could leave comments, thumbs up or thumbs down on YouTube. So the topic for this week, you somehow got sucked in. You really weren't involved, but you got involved.
I did.
Against your will. You were totally dragged in unwillingly, and so there's a bunch of. This is one of those things that happens in this hobby and in this business where you have no you can never predict when something like this is going to happen, and a bunch of different factors that we're accustomed to kind of all converged in one nutty thing. So, as you know, I mean, if you listen to this show, you know that I've been selling off big chunks of my collection on eBay. I've been doing so, since I guess February or so. I've been really, pushing very hard. I've sold I mean, I'm not going to pretend that it's a huge percentage, but I mean, every week I have big numbers of boxes going out the door. Have you been like tracking and seeing how much I've been moving, or you don't care?
No, before bed usually I have like a whole long list of eBay sellers, people I know, people I don't really like personally know, and I'll just peruse. I see what they put up, I see what they sell, I judge their sales. I don't know, it makes me happy. So you've had a pretty good clip going.
So one of the things I put up was some of the John Carpenter stuff that I got done when we were at Steel City that time. Now, if you've ever been to Steel City Con in Monroeville, you'll know they don't allow actually any third-party authenticators there. They sell their own BS. So have you seen what their certificates of authenticity look like?
Is it just like a picture of that dilapidated mall?
No, it's a handwritten thing.
Oh, geez.
It's horrible. It's a handwritten piece of junk. Right. They don't. So they want to sell their own because they make money off of them. Like, JSA comes in, they don't make any money. So anything at Steel City, I don't get authenticated. And like then if if we see JSA or we see Beckett or whatever, then I'll get them done after the fact if it's something that I think needs it. These John Carpenter, I had some Funkos. I never bothered getting them done because John Carpenter's JSA price was like $25. I didn't want to pay it. Whatever. So I listed them on eBay, and a guy reached out. And see, this is one of those things when you're a seller, you have to kind of let your spidey sense guide you. Let your instincts guide you when you have a certain feeling about someone. And so a guy reached out on eBay and he started like sending me multiple lowball offers for this thing. And I was just like, at the same time he was sending me offers, he was also like, will this pass authentication? Well, it's not authenticated, but he was having a conniption about it. And I'm like, look, number one, I'm not discounting it. It's not going to. It's cheap enough as it is. I have no interest in discounting it further. Don't buy it. If it's too expensive for you, don't buy it. It was already cheap. Second, I said it will pass third-party authenticator. I knew that I got it at Steel City. Not only that, it looked like a pretty standard John Carpenter con graph. And the TPAs are usually pretty good about authenticating standard con graphs. Do you want to explain what a standard con graph is to someone who's not a crazy person?
Yes, a standard con graph would be sort of something that an autograph that would match like an exemplar from that sort of a signing environment. They're seated. They're, not super rushed. They're trying to some degree. It's usually maybe not their best signature. Maybe some of those privates you get a little better, but it's like their better signature, not like some street scribble that's like unrecognizable.
They're pretty good exemplars, So, I was pretty confident. Why wouldn't I be? But the guy was insisting. He's like, you will pay if it doesn't pass, you will pay the TPA fee as well. I'm like, sure, whatever, fine. Now, in my zeal to get the sale, and again because I knew it was real, I was making promises that I really would not. I would prefer not to keep. I was, as they say sometimes, writing checks that my ass could not cash. But I was confident. So lo and behold, I make a deal with the guy off eBay. Okay, I make it off eBay because he was really concerned. He wanted to get a deal. So I said, "Listen, I can't give you a deal because I got to pay all these eBay fees. Do it off eBay, and I'll do it better for you." And then he wanted us, and then I said, "Do it PayPal friends and family. I'll do it better for you." But he wouldn't do that because he was nervous I was going to rip him off. And I'm like, you have my. We're rack verified sellers. We have a company. Like it's public, And so don't worry about it, dude. It's fine. So I agreed to a price. I made him pay the extra goods and services money. And he pays me. And you know when like you go through a grueling negotiation with someone, and you're thinking, you know what? This is gonna be a problem sale.
Yes, I've been there.
And I didn't listen to my better judgment. My better judgment would have just been to take a walk. And I made someone. I told someone to take a hike the other day over something. Digression. Somebody was like, I have my Dynamite Kid classic superstars figure signed, Beckett certified for $300. Right? There aren't that many out there anymore. They're just not. No. They're rare. And the guy's like, he emailed me. He's like, would you take $250? It's been up here for a while. And I basically said, I would rather keep it. It's just a matter of, give me a break. Are you serious? For something like that? Go find another one because there's none out there. I haven't seen one on eBay since the last one I saw. I had two. I bought two that time from High Spots when they did the sale. And I had them on eBay. One of them I sold. The other one's been sitting here. Anyway, I sometimes when people, they communicate in a certain way, and you just know that they're not people you want to deal with. And this guy, I got those feelings, and like an idiot, I ignored them. So anyway, he pays it. I send it out. He gets it. I hear nothing. A couple weeks go by, and I get an absolutely unhinged rant in my Facebook messages at like 3:00 in the morning from this guy claiming that it failed ACOA preliminary check. So ACOA it's a smaller TPA company, very reputable. They do their authentication a little bit differently than the other companies. You send a picture of the item, they give it an initial preliminary okay. If it gets the initial preliminary okay, you then mail it to them, they sticker it and send it back if it passes full. Okay? This way, they're not receiving... I get it. They're not receiving tons of mail of stuff they have to reject. That's the idea.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Long story short, it failed initial authentication. So this guy's bugging out. He wants his money back. He opens a PayPal dispute immediately, the whole shebang. And honestly, I was like, fine, I'll do a return. I don't care. But what he wanted me to do was he wanted me to give him his money back before he sent the thing back. And that's just never going to happen. So then I guess the next part falls on you because somehow you became involved. He went to speak to my manager.
So I have, he messaged me. And mind you, I was at school trying to play poker with one of my students. So I was like in the middle of something. So he messages me, can you tell your business partner to accept my PayPal claim or give me back my money? Plus the $30 autograph fee. He sends me all these screenshots. He said he went silent on me. Mind you, it's 10:30 a.m. So I responded, he's at work, as am I. It'll be taken care of, even though this sale has nothing to do with me. So he starts explaining to me how you and I are connected. which clearly I'm well aware. I then chimed in, which I guess was probably the wrong thing to get myself out of this. I said, obviously, there's not going to be a refund until the item is back in hand. And he went on to say, I'm not going to read all of it. It's just a lot of stupidity. But the line that hit me was, no offense, but I'm not really going to trust someone that sold me a fake autograph. So I said that the autograph is good. I watched him sign it myself. And that I basically said that he's not going to, that we're not ripping him off over... it was under $100, I'm imagining.
It was,
yeah. I'm like, we have a company. We're not ripping you off for, $75, $80 purchase. This will be resolved, and just bear with us. And he didn't like that. And then I said, well, I don't have to tell you, take it up with Sean. Because, again, how could I can't speak for you. You're at work. I'm playing poker during my prep period. So it's like, there was nothing else I could have done.
So the backstory is I did go silent for a reason. So when it failed, I reached out to the owner of ACOA on Facebook, who I've talked to about other things in the past. We don't know each other, but I have talked to him about other things related to RAC and ACOA and stuff. And I was just like, what is the process by which I can appeal this in some way? Can you take a look at it? It looks like a pretty standard con graph to me, so I'm not sure why you guys rejected it. And so I was actually very impressed with ACOA's process here. He didn't just reverse it. He didn't because we've spoken before. It wasn't anything like that. What he asked me to do was he asked how many other items I got done by Carpenter that day. Now, it just so happened I got a bunch. That was my whole thing that was my one chance to get Carpenter. I got everything done. I got my They Live poster, my Thing poster. I got a bunch of different Funkos. I got a bunch of stuff. So he's like, can you take a picture of everything you got done that day and send them all to me, which I did. So that while I was silent with this guy, before I left for work that morning, I just grabbed everything. Luckily, I had it all in one spot just by kind of luck. And I took pictures of everything, sent it in. He said, okay, I'm going to send these out to the team. He has an authentication team, and then we'll vote on it to see whether what happens. Which I think is kind of an interesting way of resolving something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's transparent enough, it's scientific enough. It wasn't just like, oh, well, you pay, you're part of our trusted club, and I'll overturn it. Like it's I think it was a very respectable way to handle it.
Right, and he was very direct. He said, this is really just a process that we do. So I waited, and I basically did not respond to this guy until I was going to get response from them, because there's no sense. I mean, it was what PayPal gives you like 2 weeks before you have to respond to a claim. So I was not going to give him anything before at least I got something from ACOA. So, but making a very long story short, that later that evening, I want to say maybe 3-4 p.m., something like that, I get a message from the ACOA owner who says, my team looked at it, they voted that it's a pass. He goes, then he made a kind of a funny comment, something that says the customer had already reached out to me. So the customer reached out to him as well. He's like, I did tell him we made a mistake and that it was a pass. And then we emailed him the certificate of authenticity. And that seemed to be it. So the prologue to this story is kind of funny. The guy, to his credit, the guy did cancel the PayPal chargeback. Because let me tell you, I was concerned about that, because if I had to deal with the PayPal chargeback, I would have been pissed. Then my demeanor would be very different right now if I had to deal with the PayPal chargeback. He canceled the PayPal chargeback, which was nice. But then, and this is my favorite part, he blocked all of us on Facebook.
Yeah, I even got blocked. I'm not sure how I caught the stray.
But it's such a funny thing because, like, I want to know what made him mad. I really want to know what made him mad. Which part of it made him mad?
I mean, I would imagine that at the time where he thought it was fake, you should have instantly been refunding him and trusting him to send it back because you're this evil person that sold him a fake autograph. I guess there's probably a large part of it where he feels embarrassed because he was yelling, to get off my lawn, shaking his fist, getting all crazy. And then it turned out it was a simple, like, my bad from the company. They made a mistake, those happen. And there was definitely a more mature way he could have handled this.
it was rectified so quickly that his head must have spun. It was so fast. Everything went so fast. But there was never, it's so funny because there was never any like, oh, my bad, man. Or because I don't even think he did anything wrong necessarily. We had an agreement, right? That he would get a certain thing. He didn't get that thing. I would have paid the return shipping. Like I was not, all I wanted was for him to follow like a normal, sane process. And then when I had to go the other direction, like I did not think, full disclosure, I did not think they were going to reverse their decision. I really didn't think they were going to. I thought I was going to refund this guy, and which is fine. I would have just sent me the thing back. If he sent it back to me, then I would honestly, what I thought was going to happen was he was going to send it back to me. Then ACOA would reverse, and I end up with an ACOA sticker on it, right? That I paid for, and it's whatever. That's what I really thought was going to happen, and then it didn't happen. Instead, they reversed it. But I guess he's mad. I wonder if he's mad at me for some. Who knows? The guy seemed a little bit dim, to be honest. He seemed very agitated. Like he approached the transaction even at the beginning with a really alarming level of distrust, and it's one of those things where like, look, dude. Don't buy it then. It's fine. Like I really don't need it that bad. I don't need the sale that badly for you to be an absolute unhinged maniac about it. Just don't buy it. It's cool, you know? I will live if you don't buy it. But for some reason there was this very like intense distrust. Like I don't know about you. Typically I don't enter into these kinds of transactions with people that I distrust.
No. I usually do my due diligence and I avoid the untrustworthy. So if he deemed you as untrustworthy, he really should have just moved on. And I even said to him when he was getting all bent out of shape, I said, honestly, I understand if it failed and he doesn't know about our company. I'm like, I understand not wanting it. That's what I said. Like, it will be resolved. This has nothing to do with me personally, but I'm confident he will do the right thing and it'll be resolved. Just, go through the process. Expecting anyone to refund before the item is returned is crazy. Like it doesn't matter if they sold you a fake autograph, if they sent you a box with a rat trap inside of it, like whatever you sent, like it doesn't matter. Like the process is the process, and like things resolve themselves the way they should. That's just not normal behavior. So I think he was wrong for that. Because he was mad at you for not instantly agreeing to those terms, which made no sense. But beyond that, I understood not wanting something that failed.
Yeah. That's really all there is to it. I get it. I had agreed to refund it. I totally send it back. Send it back on my dime, and I'll refund it. And that was the part that was curious to me. Like, why wouldn't you? Well, I don't trust you. I'm like, dude, you already filed a PayPal chargeback. So what's gonna if you send it back? There's no harm. There's no harm in it. It makes no sense. His thinking didn't make any sense, but I suspect he's just one of these people in this hobby who has a very kind of twisted view of how anything works. Like the deal is, I think to him, this was a big purchase, like a big deal. To me, it was honestly the seventh thing that I sold that week. It didn't mean anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for him, that was probably the last remaining chunk of his Social Security check that he used to pay for this, and it was like a big. To him, was the moment of his week. To me, it wasn't anything. It was. I didn't even. That's why I should have used my spidey sense better to just decline the sale in the beginning, which would have been the right thing to do. And I think that's we got to start doing that more. And we're guilty of this a little bit too. Like when people start asking just too many questions and when they start to get too intense, there's usually going to be a problem in the future, And I understand in this hobby and in this business, especially given our clientele and who they are, you have to be a little bit more forgiving with this kind of stuff. You have no choice. But there are some people you just know what you're getting, and you're like, oh God, what am I doing? Yeah, I always personally hate the people that reach out when I have a listing on eBay for, like, let's say a figure, and I'll have 6 of the same figure. And I'll take, like, a picture of all of them lined up, and, I'll always make it clear that there's always minor shelf wear, and edges might be a little, frayed, and, things like that. No dents or crushes or anything like that. And the person will message you, like, can I see the exact picture of what I'm getting? Can I see 14 different angles? And it's like, well, dude, they're all the same. And like, if you don't believe my words, like, why are you, you know what I mean? Like you said, why you, go
somewhere else. Go somewhere else. Don't buy from, if you don't, don't buy. This is how I'm doing. If you want to pay a little more and go to someone else, go to someone else. I'm not your person.
And while we're talking about eBay losers, did you see that guy? I don't think we ever talked about it like off air, but did you see the guy that was like lowballing us on the Mercedes Monet Metallics?
I did.
And his big point was, well, I'm trying to find a little cheaper than the High Spots price. And it's like, the High Spots price is the cheap price. If you want a authentic piece that is cheap, go to High Spots. Like, if you want something that's, rare and exclusive, you buy from us. Like, I will never try to compete with High Spots.
You can't.
Pricing. Yeah.
You can't.
Well, I mean, the guy we talked about last week selling Ric Flair for $35 to show me, he's competing with High Spots. High Spots ain't doing that. So you can, but it's a suicide mission.
They get 1,000 pieces done. People are so stupid. They're so stupid. High Spots, we made the comparison. They're Walmart. You're not competing with them. It's not possible.
And my response to the guy was, then please go buy from High Spots. That's as good as it's getting.
Asshole. There's no way to say. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
Anyway. What's coming up? We got Fan Expo Phillies getting closer and closer and closer.
Have you found an item for Cena yet?
I have not. To be fair, though, I've been away, so I have not had a chance to look. So I'm going to go through my messages. I just got back. So I'm going to go through my messages, and hopefully someone left me something or left me some information or gave me a good suggestion. I hope. I got to check that after this.
Okay. I'm still rounding up my pieces. I'm not sure. My Mel Gibson piece has not arrived yet. So fingers crossed it shows up.
It's not looking good at this point.
Not at all.
Speaking of eBay chargebacks. and then like an idiot, I knew I was doing this ages ago, but I scheduled my meet and greet with the used for I instead of getting the one that was like on the weekend, I get the one that's on a weeknight, and so I'll be doing that, and you'll be getting a report next time around, but it'll probably be mixed in with some of my, oh my god, I have to go to the city on a weeknight kind of attitude.
Wow, so fresh back from vacation, you got to deal with all that.
I do. It's very sad. So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. And here are the upcoming signings we've got. Once again, we have Zeta Steele. We'll be at PWJ Damaged Goods 2, July 27th in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. We have orders are open, ready for her. We also have Marcus Mathers, again, round 2 with Marcus Mathers. Again, same show. We can also announce 2 more. You do the next 2 announcements.
All right. We will be with a women's wrestling standout, Smiley Kylie Ray. This is a first-time ID signing for us. So if you are one of our many customers that are sort of completing your collection of the black bordered promos and everything else, you want to jump on this. Kylie Ray honestly does not come around these parts often.
Is she our 9th or 10th ID person?
I believe our 10th.
So it's big. We're making our way through the ID roster. She's another one we added to it.
Honestly, at this point, we're kind of like the Tammy Sitch of the ID program. We are moving around.
That's deranged. Oh my god.
And we are also back for a round 2. Emily J, who's another one of those talents that we think will be, if not ID'd, that she will land somewhere with notoriety. And, the first one was a success professionally.
Yeah, she did really well for us last time.
Yeah, monetarily, we did well with her. So it's a no-brainer. She's a cool chick. We're in the same place as her again. Why not make some new edits and, see how it goes?
All right. Sounds good. I think that wraps up this week. So for markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles and Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And I'll see you next week talking about the used.